assault, heavy, officer, and specialist. These four classes got along peacefully until one day, somebody asked the question, which is the best base class? And so, in response to this call to action, I have decided to pick up the torch and answer this question. In order to get a good idea of the specialist, I will go through sections of the character. Timestamps are in the description. After each section, I will make a tier list of the things I talked about. At the very end, I will show a tier list of all we have gone over. The specialist, also known as the sniper, is a class designed for long-range combat with 150 health. But it also has some close-range capabilities. We are first going to take a look at its base abilities. The base middle ability, Infiltrator. Despite being in a sniper class, this ability gives this class a strong close combat capability. And when you activate Infiltrator, you get a 6-round burst weapon, where each shot can do from 7 to 20 damage, depending on the distance. The ability lasts for 25 seconds, with every shot taking 2 seconds off of its total time. After this, you have to wait 30 seconds for the cooldown timer. On top of this, it has other base abilities of Shock Grenade and Thermal Binoculars. Both of these are exactly as the name implies, with the Shock Grenade doing 30 initial damage and an additional 10 damage per second afterwards, totaling to 60 damage as it lasts 3.3 seconds. Its blast and shock radius is 5 meters, with an inner blast radius of 2.5 meters, with an ability cooldown of 35 seconds. Meanwhile, the thermal binoculars grant thermal vision through walls and marks characters it sees. This ability lasts for 8 seconds with a cooldown of 15 seconds. When it comes to the base abilities, we're going to start with the thermal binoculars. The pros are that you can see through walls and mark people, with the cons being that it takes up a whole ability slot while being virtually useless. Due to the fact that there is rarely a time for this ability, I have to place it in D tier. After that, we have the Shock Grenade. It has the pros of semi-stunning and dealing up to 60 damage with a large radius of damage. The cons are that it can be rolled out of, and to do good damage, someone would have to stand still for a long time. With all of this in mind, I think that the Shock Grenade is a solid C tier ability. Finishing with the Infiltrator, we have some of the best pros. It has some of the best DPS of close-range weapon in the game, which gives a normally long-range character an actual chance in close-range situations. The cons are that you need to be in close range to have an effect, but keeping it all in mind, I'd put this ability into the A tier. On top of these abilities, there are an additional 9 ability cards for this class. Each has a different level unlock, but to unlock Rare requires level 22, and Epic requires level 35. Starting with the left abilities, we have Improved Shock Grenade, Stinger Pistol, and Repulsor Cannon. The Improved Shock Grenade is unlocked at Specialist level 2 and increases the active time of the Shock Grenade, with Common having an active time of 4 seconds, Uncommon with 4.5 seconds, Rare with 5 seconds, and Epic with 6 seconds. The Stinger Pistol is unlocked at Specialist level 15. It is a pistol which inflicts 30 damage on hit, and does an additional 2 damage per second for infantry and 3 for heroes. Its duration is 6 seconds for Common, 7 for Uncommon, 8 for Rare, and 10 for Epic. The Repulsor Cannon is available at Specialist level 15. It is a pistol which has 2 rounds, which knock down your opponents who are within 5 meters distance. It does a decent amount of damage, and has a recharge time of 40 seconds at Common, 38 at Uncommon, 36 at Rare, and 32 at Epic. The Improved Shock Grenade turns the C-tier ability into an actual damage dealer with the potential to do up to 90 damage to a large amount of people. This moves the ability, in my mind, up to B tier. After the Shock Grenade, we have the Stinger Pistol. This weapon is essentially a second weapon for the Specialist with a high rate of fire and low heat per shot. On top of this, with constant damage, it gives the player a good chance against heroes. It does have low damage for the primary hit, but after that, if you count the damage over time, this ability is a strong B tier ability. Lastly, we have the Repulsor Cannon. It is able to knock back characters and even heroes, and due to that, it can save you in some dangerous situations. But you only have 2 shots until it can take up to 40 seconds to recharge. With this info, it's a mid-B tier ability. For the middle abilities, there are 3 variations of the infiltration, including Scramble Infiltration, Hardened Infiltration, and Killstreak Infiltration. The Scramble Infiltration is available at Specialist level 5. While active, it scrambles the radar of enemies close to you, with it scrambling the radar of people 10 meters away for Common, 11 for Uncommon, 12 for rare, and 14 for epic. The hardened infiltration is available at specialist level 20. While active, it reduces damage taken. At rarity common, it has a recharge time of 25 seconds and a damage reduction of 18%. At uncommon, recharge time is 23 seconds, while damage reduction is 21%. At rare, recharge is 21 seconds and 23% damage reduction. At epic, it has an 18-second recharge and 25% damage reduction. The kill streak infiltration is available at specialist level 20. When you get a kill with infiltration, it increases your remaining time by 25% at common, 35% at uncommon, 45% at rare, and 55% at epic. Starting with the scramble infiltration, it scrambles radar, but you have to be so close to others that it practically negates the scrambling of the radar. The fact is you have to use one of 3 star card slots to have this upgrade, when in reality it has no pros to the regular infiltration, places this ability in the D tier. After that, you have the hardened infiltration. With the ability to reduce damage, which is imperative in close range situations, as well as having a relatively short recharge time with no major setback, this ability is our first S tier ability. After hardened infiltration, we have killstreak infiltration. While this ability has high promises, its delivery is poor, as whenever I am able to get a kill with this weapon, it doesn't give enough time to be able to get a second kill most of the time, removing the only positive of it. But in a situation where I am able to get many kills, it does come through strong. Because of this, I'm going to put this into the A tier. Lastly, the right abilities are improved thermal binoculars, trip mine, and personal shield. The improved thermal binoculars is available at specialist level 2 and increases the duration of the mark to 19 seconds at common, 10 seconds at uncommon, 11 seconds at rare, and 12 seconds at epic. The trip mine is available at specialist level 5. When used, it places a tripwire that detonates when somebody walks across it, dealing anywhere from 0 to 200 damage depending on how close they are to the explosion, with a recharge time of 30 seconds at common, 26 at uncommon, 22 at rare, and 16 at epic. The personal shield is available at specialist level 10. It spawns a shield around you through which neither you or your enemies can shoot through. At common, it has a health of 160, uncommon has 180, 200 for rare, and 240 for epic. Pulling 3 of the best abilities for this class, we have potentially the worst ability in the game, improved thermal binoculars. While trying to improve a bad item, all it does is use up one of a useful star card to make no difference in its usability, giving us the first F tier ability. Next we have the trip mine. While it can do up to 200 damage and in a certain situation being extremely strong, there are not many times when this ability is useful. But because of the usability, when you can use it, I believe it deserves a strong B tier. Lastly, we have the personal shield. Not only does it save your life constantly, it also replaces the worst base ability in the game, giving us another S tier ability. After the ability cards, there's the unique boost card of stealth, which keeps you hidden from enemy radars while shooting and increases melee damage, with 67 damage at common, 75 at uncommon, 100 at rare, and 125 at epic. On top of those mentioned, there are 7 boost cards that all classes share: Marksman, Bounty Hunter, Expert Weapons Handling, Survivalist, Bodyguard, Brawler, and Resourceful. Out of the 8 boost cards, the one that sticks out to me the most is the Marksman, as with overheating happening all the time, having the ability to not have to deal with it saves so much frustration. And this gives us the first S tier card. After this, we have Resourceful and Survivalist in A tier, Stealth and Expert Weapon Handling in B tier, and Brawler, Stealth, and Bounty Hunter in C tier. After boost cards, there are 6 default guns: the Vulcan 38X for clones, the E5S for droids, the DLT 20A for rebels, the DLT 19X for scout troopers, the A180 sniper for resistance, and DLT 19D for the First Order. While they do have different names, the only difference is their skin, with them all doing 48 damage per shot with 180 rounds per minute. It takes 1 second to ventilate with an additional 1 second for overheating penalty. It takes 10 shots until it overheats, and passively takes 5 seconds to cool down. On top of the base rifle, there are 4 unlockable rifles: the IQA-11, the Cycler rifle, the A280 CFE, and the NT242. Starting off, the IQA-11 unlocks at 50 specialist kills with 67 damage per shot with 130 rounds per minute. It takes 1 second to vent and takes 5 shots to overheat, with a 1 second overheat penalty, taking 5 seconds to passively cool down. It has 3 mods Dual zoom, bolt speed, and improved cooling. Dual zoom unlocks after 25 kills with the weapon and adds a secondary further zoom. Bolt speed unlocks with 75 kills with the weapon and increases the bolt speed from 1,600 meters per second to 10,000 meters per second. Improved cooling unlocks with 150 kills with the weapon and increases the amount of bullets able to be fired before overheating from 5 to 6. The Cycler Rifle unlocks at 50 specialist kills in co-op. It deals 75 damage at 180 rounds per minute. It takes 1 second to vent, overheating at 3 shots, which causes a 1 second overheat penalty with a 5 second passive cooldown delay. It has the 3 mods of Dual Zoom, Reduced Recoil, and Improved Cooling. Dual Zoom unlocks after 25 kills with the weapon and adds a secondary zoom. Reduced Recoil unlocks after 75 kills with the weapon and lowers the recoil. Improved Cooling unlocks after 100 kills and reduces the passive cooldown delay to half a second. The A280 CFE unlocks at 200 kills with a specialist. It does 33 to 25 damage with 320 rounds. Its drop-off starts at 20 meters and ends at 40 meters. It takes 1 second to vent, taking 15 shots to overheat with a 1 second overheat penalty. The passive cooldown takes 10 seconds to activate. It has the 3 mods of Dual Zoom, Burst Mode, and Ion Shot. Dual Zoom unlocks after 25 kills with the weapons and adds a secondary zoom. Burst Mode unlocks with 75 kills with the weapon, switching it to a 3-round burst. Ion Shot unlocks after 150 kills with the weapon and increases damage to non-character entities, while decreasing damage to character entities such as troopers, special units, or heroes. Lastly, the NT-242 unlocks at 400 specialist kills, with 106 damage and 80 RPM, making it the only weapon able to one-shot any base class with a headshot. It takes 1 second to vent, taking 3 shots to overheat, with an overheat penalty of 1 second, with a passive cooldown delay of 5 seconds. It has the 3 mods, Dual Zoom, Improved Cooling, and Disruptor Shot. Dual Zoom unlocks after 25 kills with the weapon and adds a secondary zoom. Improved Cooling unlocks after 75 kills with the weapon and decreases the passive cooldown delay to 0.722 seconds. It increases the max amount of shots before overheating by 1. Disruptor Shot unlocks after 150 kills with the weapon. Similar to Ion Shot, it does increased damage to non-character entities and decreases the damage done to character entities, while also adding explosive damage. By adding Disruptor Shot, you decrease the total amount of shots before overheating by 1. While I used to think the base sniper was bad, after giving it a second chance, it's a really solid weapon. Despite it having no mods, it has everything a beginner specialist needs. It gets you used to the scope that the rest of the guns use, as well as having a fire rate that is needed for new people to be able to miss some shots while still being able to get kills. This lands the base weapon at B tier. The IQA-11 is a great step up from the default weapon, as it is quite similar to the first with no mod. But if you can get the dual zoom, it makes this gun well worth it. As it has a lower RPM and higher damage, it's obvious you need to get more accurate, and thanks to the dual zoom, you're able to be, making the change well worth it. Due to its damage output, this weapon is at the top of B tier. Despite needing the same amount of kills as the IQA-11 and being game mode specific, the Cycler Rifle falls. Out of all the guns I used, this is by far the worst one. It has 3 shots before you have to cool, and it can't even kill another specialist with a headshot. The only time the sniper has anything to offer is if you can hit the successful cooling, giving you constant fire. And even then, the recoil is so bad that you can't hit anything, regardless as if you have recoil reduced or not. I can solidly say this is the worst gun in the specialist class, landing it in D tier. While the A280 CFE may be from a sniper class, it is definitely for more mid-ranged battles. Despite it being a mid-range weapon for a sniper class, this is easily a competitor for the best sniper gun. With its RPM over 300 and the potential to do 33 damage per shot, along with dual zoom, almost no recoil, and the best mid-range scope in this game, this weapon might be a contender for one of the best weapons in the entire game, landing it at the top of S tier. The A280 CFE may be a top contender for the best weapons, but the NT-242 is amazing. Being the only weapon for base characters to be able to one-shot other base characters, this weapon is the best sniper by far. And while it is meant for long range, even in close range battles, this still proves as a solid weapon, able to kill people in 2 body shots. With all of the additional abilities and the fact that it can one-shot headshot people, this easily lands the weapon at the top of S tier. Despite having some of the worst abilities, the Specialist is quite a good class and can be used in a strong way even while unupgraded. On top of this, if you can unlock everything and be decently accurate, this class can turn into a menace. The only problem is that this doesn't get any decent abilities or weapons until you get a decent amount of kills and a lot of XP. However, once this hurdle is overcome, you can turn into a high threat in Battlefront. The Specialist makes a hard case, and because its capabilities once upgraded, it places itself into the low A tier. After finishing my first YouTube video, I'm quite happy with the results. However, I am open to criticism, so if you have any ideas or criticism, please do post it in the comments. Whether it be about the information or even the editing, I am open to suggestions. However, if you did enjoy it, please do consider subscribing and liking the video. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/darknessofsins. Link is in the description. On top of that, I recently created a Discord. There's a link for that in the description as well. The next video will be a similar video. This time I plan on going over the officer class. Thanks, and hopefully I'll see you next time.